Welcome to Cordially Invited.
I am Rebecca Hanssen.
I am your host, Lily Kay.
You may know me as Eve in Stellar Blade.
So this must be 8 or 7.
Alfira in Baldur's Gate.
The hero survives a war and rebuilds her life.
Queen Meve in Netflix's The Witcher.
It's quite barbarous, even for me.
The joy of getting to play them both is that I've seen that, like, femininity and strength can be equal and valid in very different ways.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hello!
Welcome to Cordially Invited. It's so nice to have you. All right, we're just going to get right into it and discover your journey to how did you get to these roles and whatnot. So my very, very first question is actually about Baldur's Gate 3, because it became very big very quickly. And even though your character, Alfira, is not someone who can join the camp, people love your character. Was this something that was expected? Or how did you realize even that, you know, this character became so huge that people are like, oh, Alfira is the best, you know, we love her so much?
Definitely was not expected.
Yeah.
I mean, I got that part in 2019. We were recording for 4 years. But I think that Alfira wasn't perhaps meant to be in the whole thing, but like I'd come in and recorded a few different kind of versions of Act 1. And then I think when the kind of tester beta version was released, people did slightly fall in love with her, and so I think that they brought her back. I think that nobody tells me anything, but I think that is what happened. And because they're constantly writing the scripts, and like I'd have months at a time where I didn't go in and then kind of get an email like, there's another Alfira batch, come on in and record, which was a joy because she's just, I miss her. I really do. But no, I hadn't. I guess you can never anticipate how big a game is going to be, and or how your character is going to go down. I knew that I loved her, and I was just like, oh, how wonderful that I get to share her now with the rest of the world. And I'm very pleased that lots of people like her too.
Oh yeah, she's honestly delightful. I really, when I first met her during the first playthrough, I was like, oh, they're singing. Oh, there's this wonderful character. Like, oh my God, this is so fun. And then I accidentally got her killed. So, you
It
know,
happens a lot. Yeah.
yeah. That wasn't a happy moment. I was like, oh no, what did I do? But that's Baldur's Gate for you. That's why you go back and replay it. So, but then the question comes, because this was like a 4-year project of like going in and out of recording. Is this a regular thing? Like, does this happen with every game, or Baldur's Gate is kind of like a out there example of like such a long process of recording?
It fluctuates. I think when it's like a really massive open world RPG, they do often take that long. So there's been a few other games that I've been on that are the same. Like there's one that started recording, I think I was doing like temp tester audio for it around about the same time as Baldur's Gate, and it's still recording, it's not out yet. I think it comes out this year or next year. Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so like they can take ages. But I guess because with Baldur's Gate we were doing so much kind of performance capture and everything for it as well, so that takes a long time. Whereas with other games, you know, they can kind of animate so much of it, and then just the voice is the kind of one of the last things that happens, and they put it in. So yeah, and then that can be a slightly quicker process. But no, games take ages. Developers are like, I don't know, they're incredible. It's a long process.
Definitely is, yeah. I mean, it takes what, like 7-8 years from announcement to actually get the game in your hands and play with it. So yeah, no, so much work goes into it, right? It's kind of insane. But it begs the question, are you a gamer?
Oh, and I wish that I could answer yes. I play every night. Um, I would not dare call myself a gamer. And that is not because I don't love games, it's because I'm actually just really not very good at them. Um, and yeah, so I love watching people play games, and I
Mhm.
will be the backseat driver, um, going like, go over there, no, kill that person. Why did you do that? And it's like, do you want to hold the controller? No, no, thank you. You do it. No, thanks. That's
I love that.
but I don't enjoy fighting, which I guess is
Okay.
a large part of
Yeah,
gaming.
kind of.
I really I love story-based games.
Yes.
And so and I love exploration and all of that stuff. And then as soon as like I have to fight something, I'm like, "Ugh, like you're getting in the way of this move. Go away. I'm trying to go over there." So I'm maybe not the target audience. Um, but what I have been playing recently is Blueprints,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yes.
obsessed. That
Yes.
is bang on my kind of game. It's all about exploration, puzzles, problem solving. You've got all the time in the world. There are no baddies. It's purely story and plot.
Yes. Oh, definitely. I can understand that. Like, I'm a bit both. So I like fighting sometimes, but I'm more to the story. Like that's why I like games like Telltale and oh my God, I forgot Dark Pictures, who did Until Dawn and whatnot, because there you just, you just do your story however you want. So if you're more into those things, I highly recommend.
Okay, good. See, I think I'm becoming more into games since I started doing the voice acting, you'd hope. Um, uh, and and so now I feel far more immersed in the world. And I know I like so many games and so many people that are in them, and I feel like I've got all the tidbits of knowledge of the games. I just haven't like sat down and played them. I'm very
Yeah.
immersed in the world. It's bizarre. Yeah,
So does this mean that you haven't played any of the games that you're actually in?
I have not. I have watched people play them.
Okay.
A lot. My excuse is that I also have a toddler, um,
Okay.
and time is just like sand
Yes.
in your
Yeah.
hands. I'm constantly scrabbling just to feed myself, never mind sit down and
Fair
play
enough.
or
I
read anymore. It's yeah. So woe is me, world's tiniest violin. But yes, I don't have as much time as I used to, which is
I understand. I understand. That will come back that time.
exactly. It will. It will.
It will come back. And then you can just catch up on all the
I'll
games.
just have a list of like the
Yeah.
past kind of 5 years of games that everybody's told me to play. It's gonna be great.
You just sit in the room and just, okay, let's do this.
My agents will be like, "So are you free for work tomorrow?" I'm like, "No, I'm actually putting a pause on recording games. I'm just gonna sit and play them." They'll be like, "No, it's fair.
Fair enough.
Yeah."
That's a very understanding agent, you
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
say.
I don't think they would be that understanding. No, no.
It's nice to imagine, though. You've done so many different things, so it's actually a bit of a research of actually getting into the list of things that you've been on. And you did quite a few non-Western games, more Korean, Chinese, and one of the big ones is obviously Stereo, which comes from a Korean studio. And if we're fully honest, Eve is, well, she's very, very
She's very.
feminine. She's like, when I first saw the design, I was like, oh, okay, I guess. It is become, I think, in the past few years, not even a few years, I would say the past decade, that they try not to, because I think we can use this term here, over sexualize female characters. But Eve is an exception, 100%. What was your initial reaction when you first saw the character of like, here she is, you're gonna voice her? What was the reaction?
I mean, it's interesting because I think I was sent a bunch of the scripts first. Um,
Okay.
and I was like, gosh, she is a badass and she is
Mm-hmm.
so like grounded and um just emotionally stable and just I don't know a fighter. I mean, she carries that game. Then I saw like a kind of picture of her, and in to be fair, it was in her the suit that she kind of wears on the poster, which is very
Yeah.
covered with the tie, which I'm wearing today. I actually didn't do that on purpose, but I love it. Um, and so I was like, oh wow, okay, yes. I mean, listen, the female form is gorgeous. We can all say it is.
It is.
And she exemplifies that
Yeah.
to an extreme. Um, but yeah, it's a tricky one. I think that over sexualization should be a major topic of conversation.
Mhm.
And I think that my job as a voice actor, where I have no control over what a character looks like, but I have control over how they are played and perceived. And the director that we had for Stellar Blade is called Effie Loy, and she is incredible. And we spent a lot of time, and the developers were very open to us changing the script and pitching ideas and stuff like that. Also, because it was translated, there was a lot of times where we were having to work on the script anyway, just because maybe it didn't really roll off the tongue, or it didn't quite translate, or didn't quite make sense. And so we had the ability to chop and change bits of it, which was great. So it just meant that if we ever came up against a line that sounded a bit damsel in distressy, we were like, let's tweak this, let's change this, because and I think you play the game and you can see like she is never once a damsel in distress.
Mhm.
And I think for me that is what is so important, that if players have if they're only meant to interact with how a character looks, then there's a problem. But if there is kind of like emotionally complex depth underneath that character, that players can be like, okay, she looks amazing, but my God, her personality is cool.
Yeah.
That is what to me is so
Yeah.
important.
I want to bring this in here because you are in the Witcher, the live action Witcher series, where you also portray a very, very strong woman who's very different from Eve, but still the same badass and still, carries herself with so much grace, and she's a freaking warrior as well. And it's very interesting to see how different the portrayal of these two women are, because one of them is very feminine, very much over sexualized, and the other is still, I would still say, very feminine, but like
She's in like
very
men's armor.
yes,
She
but
looks like, yeah.
which I think you would imagine then that's how it should be during fights and wars and whatnot. So, in contrast to these two characters, like that's a huge difference. Like if you look at it that way, how do you perceive the two characters in this light?
The joy of getting to play them both is that I've seen that like femininity and strength can be equal and valid in very different ways. And it doesn't all look the same, and that means different things to different people. Um, and I think that actually the way that I approached both characters was very similar, of kind
Okay.
of, tapping into that side of myself that says how she truly feels, that, goes after that goal without kind of thinking about everybody else and all of the like, kind of bigger picture. It's like, this is what we should be doing, and we're going to do it. And so they're very similar. Um, they're very similar in that way, and I think that was then quite fun to realize that it didn't really matter what they. It doesn't matter what you look like; it's what's on the inside that counts. But yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I mean, that's where I was going with it.
Mhm.
That I think at the end of the day, it's why does this matter? But at the same time, I think media has a role in all of our lives, of how we perceive different things. So in that light, yeah, I would argue that how characters look and how they are portrayed does matter. But I think at the end of the day, because the characters are still like strong women, very badasses, very big badasses. So isn't that what matters?
Yes. I mean, listen, are there a few of the outfits that you can put Eve in that I kind of wish weren't available because I don't think it's necessary for her to be saving the world whilst in a bikini? Sure. Yes. Yeah.
I haven't played the game yet. It's on my list. I have a very big list of games that I need to catch up on, but it's one of those where I'm like, I'm now very interested to see this, because if you just look at it as an outsider, it's like, oh, okay, it's, you know, that kind of game where what matters is the outside. But then I read the reviews and everyone is like, this is a fantastic game. You know, the story is amazing, the characters are awesome, and I'm like, oh, whoa, okay, then let's do this. I just didn't get around to it yet. Regarding the studio differences, how would you say it's different to work on more of an Asian game like Chinese, Korean, Japanese from working on a Western game? Like, what is the biggest difference when it comes to these different type of games?
Yeah, I guess you have more agency to tweak the script when it's, like I was just saying, when it's translated. They do give you that kind of
Okay.
agency because, you know, they realize that sometimes things can be slightly mistranslated or we would have sayings that don't quite work. But actually, you know, I guess taking like Baldur's Gate and Stellar Blade, for example. So with Stellar Blade, I got to watch all of the cutscenes and everything because it had already been done. I'm just
Yeah.
dubbing. Um, and so that's amazing because you're getting to actually see everything. Um, it does add a whole other tricky aspect to it where you know you're watching the scene, the subtitles are on the bottom, but then you also have really specific time constraints that you need to meet. So you're watching while reading, while this bar goes across the screen telling you at what point you need to stop speaking, all whilst trying to make it sound totally natural. And so there's a lot going on at once. And we were doing HMC, which is head mounted camera, where they have all the dots kind of on my face because they were kind of reanimating her mouth and face for the different languages.
Interesting.
Amazing. Which meant we didn't need to match the mouth movements, which was incredible because that's really hard.
That makes it so much easier, isn't it?
Yes. But then you're trying to do all of that whilst having dots on your face and this big camera and this really bright light bang in
Oh,
your eyes. So there's a lot of juggling parts,
yeah.
doing stuff like that, but it's a lot of fun. And then with Baldur's Gate, like I would never have dared to tweak that script. I wouldn't have had to because Rachel Quirk, who was kind of the main writer for Alfira, is just Alfira. She did the most incredible job. And so it was just a joy to kind of read her lines every day. But I guess you could move slightly faster with the recording process because you weren't having to watch something and match. It was going to be kind of animated around you
Yeah.
and your performance and your timings. So yeah, it's same but different. Um, and kind of different creative processes for both. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. That's very interesting to hear, because I don't think anyone who I spoke to before mentioned this, that they actually take the time to reanimate the mouth movement.
They don't always. Stellar Blade did, but they don't
That's
always.
insane.
Yeah.
Wow. I really like that too. Now I really want to play this game. Like, oh wow, that adds so much more to it. Like, okay, respect, big respect on that. How's your Chinese, if I may ask?
It's not good. I don't know any Chinese, but I feel like I'm getting much better at being able to do some of the sounds.
Okay.
So like with so I'm still I'm with Art Nights Enfield. There's a lot of kind of character names or places that,
Yeah.
rightfully so, the developers would prefer that they are pronounced correctly and kind of in Chinese. And so, I get there's a wonderful woman called Nash, who does kind of is there for all of my sessions on Zoom from China. And I just get her to say the say the name like a few times and then try to copy it, and then you get used to it. But it is because it's quite a different mouth placement. And so when I'm already putting an accent on for Chen as well, so you're doing like American, 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 and then trying to seamlessly go into just like a slight Chinese accent and then back to American. Um, is it's a lot of fun, and I love the sound that I love the Chinese sounds. They're great, and it makes the name places and names sound so much more cool.
That's, I mean, because, the question comes of like pronunciation and everything when it comes to Chinese, because it's more of a, they put more emphasis on like, if you say a word differently, it can mean something different.
Yeah.
So that makes it even harder, because you have to be very precise of like how you say different words. And yeah, that would have been my other question of like, what is the accent, and was it something that you came up with, or was it something that the studio told you to have for Chen?
I think it was always American from the audition. I
Okay.
think pretty much all of Arknight's it's American, as far as I know. Maybe there's a few there's like a number of Chinese characters and maybe a few British. In fact, no, there's like a whole range of accents. I'm thinking back on it now, of just like all the characters that you kind of come across. No, it's quite varied. But no, I think the kind of core cast seem to be mostly American
American.
accents.
Okay. How difficult, because I read your, and I wanted to say it too quickly, Spotlight profile, and there are a lot of accents you could do. Which one is more challenging then, or the most challenging out of all of them? Because there's so many, like for example, this one, I don't even know what this means. Neutral Scottish accent.
That's my accent. It's just neutral Scottish.
Ah, okay.
That's what it would be described as. Obviously, I have an accent from a specific place, but it's an accent that has been it's slightly unplaceable. It's very easy to understand. You kind of can't fully pinpoint like, oh wow, you're from
Okay.
Dundee, um, or whatever. It's as neutral a Scottish accent as you can get, where it's
Okay.
everybody can understand exactly what you're saying and it's
Yeah.
slightly unplaceable. It's the same with you can get neutral English, which would be described probably as a kind of the other name for it is like received pronunciation without being too posh. It's like received pronunciation while dropping some of the T's, is like a very neutral English.
Mhm.
It's still Southern, but it's slightly unplaceable. A lot of kind of Southern people might have it with slight changes depending on
Okay.
where you're from. But that seems to be the kind of terms used with voice acting is like a neutral Scottish, a neutral American, a neutral English is just unplaceable and easy to understand, but clearly in that accent.
Okay. Because I was so confused. I was like,
Yeah.
what is that? But now we know. Now we know. We learned something today again. What is your favorite accent to do? Is there a favorite that you really, really like to do? Or you're like, I just like doing accents?
I enjoy doing accents. I think probably well, it's going to sound silly now because I am Scottish, but sometimes with work, I do a lot of American and English, a lot. So like probably the vast majority of my work. Um, so actually, when I get to do a Scottish accent that is stronger than my own, because I get to kind of tap into maybe what my accent used to be. Like I've lived down south now for 10 years, and I've had to lighten it, and I've had definitely kind of English and American bits creep in. So a lot of people are like, "Where are you from?" So actually, when I get to do a proper Scottish accent for work, I love doing it.
I can do accents even if someone asks. I'm so bad. I tried, but it's one of those very great talents that I very much admire when people can do it, and I just just sit in the back. I'm like, no, it's not gonna happen on my end. You have quite a heritage because according to your description, you are Italian, Irish, Norwegian, and Scottish. How many passports do you have?
One. I have a
Okay.
UK passport.
Okay.
So I was born in Norway,
Yep.
lived there till I was 4. And I had a Norwegian passport until I turned 16. But then now they're a little bit more lax with it. But back then, they didn't really want, Norway wasn't too keen on dual nationality. So I had to kind of pick. And I wanted to be able to vote here. And so I had to switch to a UK passport.
How do you look at yourself? Because that's 4 different very great nations. Like, what do you consider yourself? I think that's the question here.
I think I consider myself Scottish. Like that's where I grew up. That's where I had my, from 4 onwards, my whole kind of childhood. And my mum was born and raised in Scotland, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, but her mum kind of is Irish heritage and her dad is Italian. Um, so yeah, it's a nice little mixing pot, isn't it? It's fun.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really cool, to be honest. I was like, oh, look at that.
my Norwegian is all right, but I can't speak any Italian, which is very sad. But it
One
doesn't
day.
filter down annoyingly, does it? You have to actually make an effort to learn it. Yeah.
It's one of those. See, Italian accent is one of my favorites. I love when Italians speak English because it's so fun.
Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
It truly is beautiful. We talked about what's the difference between Western games and more Asian marketed games and Asian games. What is the big difference between video games and TV shows?
So with TV, even to get the part, I think you have to kind of uh look a certain way that fits in with maybe like the family that you're part of or like the place that it's set or the whatever, so that automatically immediately becomes a factor. Once you get the part, you might have to fly out to somewhere to film for 3 months. Days are quite long, you can be doing kind of 14-hour days and, be picked up at the crack of dawn for hair and makeup and everything. But when you get there, you get to wear these incredible costumes. You get to, walk around these stunning sets. You get to interact with all of your fellow actors and bounce off them. It's a magical, wonderful world. With voice, it's far more flexible. You can play, multiple parts in the same game. You don't need to look anyway. And, often it's like, okay, when are you free this week to come in and record? Most of the time, a session will last 4 hours. Um, uh, they try to cap it at 4 hours to protect your voice, but when it's a really busy spell, you kind of do 4 hours on one game and then you run across London and do 4 hours on the next one. So they can be intense days as well, but they're not quite as long sometimes as film and TV. You, I guess, have more agency to like really try to get one specific line right. You can record it 6 different times, whereas if you're performing a scene, you kind of just need to go with the flow of where it's going. You can't just work on one line at a time to get that line right. But with voice as well, you don't have anybody to bounce off of really. If they've recorded kind of the other people in the scene previously, then they'll try and play them in and you bounce off them. But often if you are kind of a bigger character, then they'll record you first. So you set the tone. So then you have nobody to bounce off of, but that's why the directors are so useful. Say useful. That's why the directors are so incredible. They keep so much in their heads. They know kind of how all of the other actors sound, and they can often read you in and make sure that everybody's on the same page. It's a big job. So yeah, a lot of differences,
Yeah.
and a lot of kind of pros and cons to both. And I guess, but ultimately, the baseline, the foundation of both is just trying to embody a character and say lines with realism is
Mhm.
is is very pertinent to both mediums, I would say. Yeah.
Which one do you prefer?
It's impossible to say. I think that's why it's such a joy getting to do them both. I think like if I think if I did TV all the time,
Hmm.
I would probably burn out quicker. Uh,
Okay.
Because if you're leading a TV show as well, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's amazing, but it's a lot. It's so lovely getting to do them both. As soon as, you kind of come off a TV job and you're like, that was amazing, but my
Hmm.
body is sore. I'm so tired. And then you can kind of step onto voice work and you can turn up in a hoodie and joggers and just focus on your voice for a little bit and not kind of it doesn't really matter about how you look and you just get to hone your voicey craft and um less long days. And then you get that itch to kind of properly be in costume again and on a set and bouncing off people. So it's genuinely, I can't pick. It's wonderful to have them both. I'm very lucky.
One of the big things is when it comes to games nowadays, especially, is the AI thing. It's getting bigger. It's coming in more, and I would like to hear your opinion about that because it is, to be fair, very rightfully so. It's quite a controversial thing.
I think it's quite scary. I've had a lot of conversations about it, funnily enough. Um, I have been heartened by the discussion online of players who I think, especially for big story-driven, character-driven games, um, do not want to be listening to AI voices. They like the fact that a real person has recorded those, a real person has felt those emotions and has taken you on that journey of that scene and that story. Um, like people like to meet the voice actors now. It's becoming a much bigger thing. Now that I think, you know, that is a kind of positive thing about social media is actors getting to say what they've been in and people actively then looking like, I really like the person that did the voice of that. I'm going to look up who that is. Oh, you're doing a convention next month. I'm going to go and say hi and like how much that story meant to me. Like, how beautiful is that?
Yeah.
And I think that that's so important, and the community that that builds is incredible. And I don't think that people are ready to let that go either. Certainly not actors and gamers either. So I have been very heartened by that discussion. Um, I think that what may start to happen is that potentially smaller kind of NPC characters might start to be AI. What I've seen is a few studios kind of uh, asking for people to sell them their voice or sell them a character. And they will then own that character
Mm.
and they can put it into lots of different games. And so somebody will have gone along and have received some money for it, and they will have created a character and recorded I don't know words that you would then put into an AI. I don't know how it works. I sound really stupid. But they will have sold that character that they've
Yeah.
created, and so they will have received some money for it. But ultimately, I still think that potentially in the long run, that maybe won't have been enough to merit potentially how many times that voice is going to be used. I don't know. Yeah. And I think the other thing that's scary is the kind of language change AI. So like it can, and I've heard it, somebody sent me something where I don't think it gone anywhere professional. It was just somebody had kind of changed my voice into German or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds exactly like me if I was to be speaking German. It's uncanny. It's amazing and terrifying. But it is amazing. And I guess then I would worry that localization teams will be affected by that. So if they're dubbing games into multiple other languages, that they'll stop doing that, which would be devastating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's an interesting time that we're going into. I think that a lot of studios, though, are very aware of it. A lot of the studios that I work at as well have very happily put AI clauses in all of their contracts. And because it will affect them as well, and they love working with actors. So I
Yeah.
think there are a lot of people championing the AI not taking over and that we can utilize it in a useful way without anybody losing their job.
Well, hopefully, it's very hard because yeah, AI coming into the creative fields. I do art, so I those things up there. That's things that I drew. Uh, and
Wow. Amazing.
thank you.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I've been heavily affected by the AI art thing and the fact that you can just put into Chat GPT whatever you want and it's gonna generate it for you. And even if a person has 2 heads or 6 fingers instead of 5, people won't care because they still got it for free and quick. So for me, AI is like, it just sucks. That's the truth of it. It's like you try to fight it and you try to find new ways to work around it. So hopefully you're more valued than AI doing whatever you can. But it is frightening to see how quickly it gets into, especially the creative fields. I think it's because what you're doing, what artists do in general, I think it's so unique and it's such a human experience that it's pretty sad that we want to replace that with AI to lighten the moon after, after the gloominess of AI and all that. Can you tell me a little bit about how was it to work on The Witcher? Because it's quite a big show and it really grew into a fan favorite. So how was your experience in general during the shooting, and how was your takeaway from it all?
I honestly had the best time. I really, really did. I mean, Mev appears like incredibly briefly at the end of season 2. And then I was kind of waiting for that call to be like, right, when are you free for season 3? But never came. And then season 3 came out, and I was like, oh, oh, that's so sad. I was
Mm.
so looking forward to going back.
Yeah.
So I totally put that out of my mind. I was like, okay. And there are so many characters in The Witcher. There's only so many people they can focus on. So I was like, okay, fair. They've decided to just there's focus on other storylines and not hers. That's okay. And then I, got the call to be like, would you like to come back for 4 and 5? I'm like, let me just check my diary. Yes, yes, please. Thank you so much. I'll be there. But I got a call. I got a call in January 2024 to ask, like, would you like to come back? And I was heavily pregnant at the time. And I was like, yes, when are we filming? It's like, we start in June. I was like,
Okay.
and my daughter was due in April, so I was like, yeah, yeah, doable, totally fine. They were like, will you be able to horse ride come September? I was like, yeah, yeah, fine. And it was great. So actually, timings wise, it worked out perfectly. Yeah, and they were wonderful. Just it's such an incredible team that work on it. And I love fantasy. I adore fantasy. If I could do fantasy forever, I would be so happy. So I just was living my best life in gorgeous costumes, incredible sets, lovely people. what more can I say? It was a joy. I loved every minute.
That's what I like to hear. That's good. That's good. There's always nice to hear. Do you have a dream role that you really want to play?
Yes. So if I'm currently reading the Robin Hobb book, I say trilogy. It's a gigantic series of like 16 books, but they all come in like trilogies and
Wow.
one or quadruple. I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of books, and I am loving every second. And I'm hoping that if they decide to make it into a series, I want to play Molly.
Look at that. Hear that, casting directors?
Yeah.
Here's your Molly.
I might, but the time they do it, I'm going to be too old, which is really sad. But I can play other characters. There's loads. I just want to be part of it. It's a joy. I think it's kind of one of those ones that, like with June, where people were like, it can't be done. It's too complex. And then it was done. And it was very cool. But whether or not the Robin Hobb series can be done.
Or Rebecca.
Yeah. I'll do it. I'll make it happen.
There you go.
No, that would be amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna say that.
I like that. I like that because usually people are like, oh, I like all roles and, I kind of live in the dream roles. And I'm like, give me something. Give me something.
Caveat, I'm happy for all and any work. Love every character. Yeah, I would love to do. Yeah, again, if I could do kind of incredible, magical, mythical fantasy stuff forever, I'd be really happy.
All right, and we arrived to the last question, and I'm very interested to hear if you could meet your younger self, how would you describe her, what you are doing now? Is it the same thing you dreamed about doing as a kid, or is it completely different?
I think so. I'm going to sound so cheesy, but it is true. I've always wanted to be an actor. That all I can ever remember wanting to do since I was like 4. And I think my parents can attest to that. So I think if I could go back and kind of speak to her, I would just be like, we're doing it. We're doing it. I would say yes, potentially it looks slightly different than maybe what we had imagined. Like I don't think I had even conceptualized of kind of acting in the voice world and games kind of being a thing, but that's because games have also come leaps and bounds in the last few years. They're so in depth now, and like the character creation is incredible. And so yeah, I would have to try and describe that to her as well. But I think she'd be very on board.
Did you prepare a dad joke for me, maybe?
I have prepared a dad joke. I've prepared a dad joke, but I have shamelessly stolen it from the first season of The Last of Us. But all jokes are stolen because you hear them and then you take them as your own.
Exactly.
But it's because I heard it and I was like, that is an amazing joke. That's my kind of joke, and I just use it all the time now. So the joke is, why did the Scarecrow receive an award?
Why?
Because he was outstanding in his field. Chef's kiss of a joke. I love it.
It's I love dad jokes. I'm a sucker for them. Like, I share my favorite one with you because I'm doing another podcast as well, and my co-host is always like just sighing at my dad jokes, but I think they're brilliant, and I want other people to recognize how brilliant the dad jokes are. All right. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Europe.
Europe? Europe who? I'm not gonna lie, that was my second choice. I was like, that was the one I was gonna go for, and I was like, no, let's do the Scarecrow one. We're on the same page here. We have the same mind.
Okay, good. We're brilliant. That's it. And dad jokes are brilliant. I will take no questions about that.
Yeah, full stop.
All right. And we have a game. I decided on rapid fire because it's always fun. The rule is very simple. No thinking. I will give you 2 choices and you have to pick one.
Okay. 2 choices, just pick one. Okay.
Yes. And as quickly as possible. So it's like... Are you ready?
So ready.
All right. Spider-Man or Iron Man?
Spider-Man.
Japanese or Chinese food?
Japanese.
The Witcher or The Lord of the Rings?
The Witcher.
The Last of Us or Days Gone?
The Last of Us.
Sunny or gloomy day?
Sunny.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
A day on the beach or hiking?
Beach.
Singing or dancing?
Singing.
Multiplayer or single player?
Multiplayer.
Streaming or cinema?
Cinema.
Cinema or theater?
Theater.
Theater or concert?
Theater.
TV shows or movies?
TV shows.
Live streaming or Comic-Con?
Comic-Con.
Photo ops or autographs?
Photo ops.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
everything.
that was fun. It tells you a lot about your brain. You're like, yes, yes, yes.
I didn't ask the mean question because last time everyone was like, you cannot ask that. The mean one is cats or dogs.
Dogs.
You can decide. I can never decide. It's both. I love them both.
I do love them both, but I think I have always been a dog person.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I just think they're both amazing. But I have a cat and a dog as well, so I solved that problem.
Fair. Exactly. You can be both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Yeah.
Exactly. Amen to that. All right, Rebecca, this was a treat, a joy, and it was so nice to get to know you through this little interview a little bit better. And I just wish you all the best for the future because you are truly amazing and you're doing an amazing job in the field. And hopefully we're going to be in contact and do another one of these when, I don't know, your next big thing is coming out and we can just talk about that and geek out about that or just fantasy.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. And dad jokes.
Yeah, great. I'll think of some more.
Okay, excellent. I will make a list as well. All right, this was Cordially Invited with the fantastic Rebecca Hanssen. And guys, remember, take care, drink enough water, play games, watch TV, watch movies, and you're all good. We're all sad. This was us. Bye.